For many people, the first thing that pops up into their head when they think about Vietnam is pho. But did you know that Vietnam has so much more to offer than just food? Learning about Vietnamese culture can allow us to see how practices over time has developed a community that values family and heritage. In this speech, I will be talking about Vietnam's traditions, music, and food. My name is Brandon Vo, and I'm a second generation Vietnamese American. Growing up, one of my favorite traditional holidays is called Tết. I know that sounds weird, but Tết means Lunar's New Year in Vietnamese. Lunar's New Year is a very important holiday in our tradition and is very common throughout Southeast Asia. During Lunar's New Year, we celebrate traditions like coming together as a family to eat and celebrate it as a festival. There are many traditions and components that comes into the Lunar's New Year. First off, the Lunar's New Year falls between January and mid-February, and it is dependent on the moon cycle. One of my favorite parts of the holiday is when we give each other red envelopes called laissez. Laissez are red envelopes that contain money, and they are often given by a higher elder to a younger person as a way of representing good luck and prosperity. The way I receive a laissez from an older person is by saying a quote that is often represented as a blessing to them for good health and longevity. Another tradition that I often admire is people wearing formal clothing called áo dài. Áo dài is a form of traditional modest formal wear where people wear these long skirts, and yeah, they go for guys as well, but they're like long skirts that are very colorful and often beautiful in design, including like floral elements. Now that we have explored some of the most important traditions and holidays, such as Lunar's New Year, let's talk about how music is very impactful to the everyday lives of Vietnamese people. Starting off, I'll be talking about a type of music called Gai Lung, which originates from southern Vietnam. An article from Vin Pearl says that this type of music called Gai Lung is a theater folklore and it has European influences. An example of where I see Gai Lung often being sang is on shows such as Paris by Night. Since this is more of a traditional type of genre, you can often find it on these popular shows that are found on CDs and stuff and are posted up on YouTube. Another thing that I learned is from Vin Pearl when he said that Chinese has a huge influence on Vietnamese music nowadays. Back then, the royal court music had influence that were from Chinese domination. I think this is a cool fact because Vietnamese culture goes beyond just what we have now, and it is built by different cultures over time. Finally, this brings us to the most delicious aspects of Vietnam. Many of you have already heard and have tried pho, but have you ever tried banh mi? Banh mi is a Vietnamese sandwich that consists of many vegetables and often deli meats and different types of meats. This is one of my favorite Vietnamese dishes. The banh mi portion means bread itself. So the bread comes from the French in around the late 1800s when they came over, and that was during their rule. They brought over the baguette, in which the Vietnamese people took the baguette and started stuffing it with meats and vegetables and sauces like mayonnaise and sriracha. Well, not back then, but they started putting different types of elements to make what is now a sandwich called banh mi. This is now a really popular Vietnamese dish because of its light and airy texture of the bread, and I just love how crispy the banh mi is. Another one of my favorite dishes is called bún bò Huế. An article from Dave Lee listing the 17 most famous and delicious foods from Vietnam that you have to try says that bún bò Huế is a traditional Central Vietnamese dish. Growing up, I rarely had bún bò Huế because my mom would make pho more often. But when she did make bún bò Huế, I took the most out of it and I had a big bowl and finished the whole thing. Bún bò Huế consists of lemongrass and a spicy red broth, so the flavors are very unique. Compared to pho, where most people would traditionally like the flavors, I think bún bò Huế is more of an acquired taste. It has many aspects such as pork blood, which is actually made into cubes, and I think that would gross a lot of people out. But to me, it is a dish that I grew up on, and it is a really important part of my Vietnamese culture. Uh, let's reflect. Let's take a moment and reflect on why this culture is so special to me. Growing up as an American, I can look around me. I can look around myself and realize that not everyone is the same. I am set apart by the music, food, and traditions that I grew up on. Considering how we Vietnamese celebrate and express ourselves, how does this compare to your culture? Thank you all for listening about my speech on Vietnamese culture.